for this presentation, I get to show how we at the Farsight Institute are working with remote viewing, not just for clear science projects involving cosmology, quantum mechanics, issues of time, multiple realities, but we're also using remote viewing in a scientific manner to do exploration. And the exploration, in terms of popular issues, is really quite a lot of fun for everyone. It also gives you an idea of how the use of military-grade remote viewers can be operationalized and how it's often used in the military itself, how the actual process is done. So what I'm going to show you now is going to be quite surprising to you. Don't try this with untrained college kids. These viewers have had an average of a typical 10-year training period to be able to do what I'm going to show you today. This all started with an anomalous photograph, a NASA JPL Magellan Space Science Systems photograph that came out from the Mars Observer. It's just something really weird, and I'm going to show you what that photograph is. We looked at it, and we said, we'd like to know what's there. And that's exactly what the military does and did when there is remote viewing needs for something that they have information for. For this particular topic, understand that all the science that's associated with it is described in my book, published recently, 2006, Remote Viewing, The Science and Theory of Non-Physical Perception. Again, it is the only book of its kind that focuses on remote viewing as it is performed in these structured data collection procedures that were developed by or are derived from the U.S. military. This is the target image. It's on Mars. Again, it's a Magellan Space Science Systems photograph, NASA JPL. You can get it yourself and on the web. Now, the interesting thing about it is that is that right up here at the top, you see a spray. Now that spray, or what it looks like a spray, has got a shadow underneath it, a straight nozzle that's horizontally placed, what looks like a pipeline going into a dome. Now we would not be interested in these domes if it was not for the spray, but the spray really caught our attention. There's also a very large dome down here that is highly reflective. It looks like it's made out of some type of resin material. Again, it's this spray that was the anomaly, and the nozzle is coming out of. We know of no geological processes that produce a horizontal nozzle with a strong, powerful spray coming out of it. In fact, most geological processes with geysers have flat land and the spray comes up. So that was an anomaly. We wondered what's that all about? Now, for this we have 9 remote viewers. Extensive training spanning typically an average decade or more for each one. There are 4 military or military-derived methodologies. We have extensive and verified public track records for nearly all viewers. So these are not people we don't know. These are all solo and blind sessions. 24 sessions are done in total for the project. 17 had clarity scores of 3, and I'll be explaining that in a little while. The CRV, Controlled Remote Viewing Group, is led by Lynn Buchanan. He was out of Army Intelligence. And the Hawaiian Remote Viewing Group, from the HRVG, Hawaiian Remote Viewing Guild Group, is led by Special Wheaton, who came out of Special Forces. Other methodologies that were used are SRV, for Scientific Remote Viewing, TDS, Transdimensional Systems, and TRV, all of which are either directly derived from the military or derived from those methodologies. Well, we have 3 targets. There's target 1A, 1B, and 1C. 1A is the spray itself. Target 1B is a small dome that seems to be connected to the spray by the apparent pipeline. And target 1C is the large dome. We have physical data and we have remote viewing data. Now this is important for you to understand. When remote viewing is used operationally, say by the military, they have some physical information. Physical information is not always correct. Remember the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Lynn Buchanan once told me that on average the remote viewing data was normally considered about 60% correct, and that is often considered higher than the physical data that comes in. Spies get it wrong sometimes. What the military and other people who use it operationally, such as when we try to use it in a scientific project like this, try to do is to match the physical data with the remote viewing data. So when we have physical data and remote viewing data that are saying the same thing. We have two pieces of independent information, and we call that verifiable information. Anything that is not matched with physical, obvious interpretation, physical data, on the remote viewing side is called new information, or, we call that speculative. And it remains speculative until some physical information can corroborate it. And now the role of clarity scores. Clarity scores go between 0 and 3. A 0 is a washout, terrible session, nothing's correct. 1, clear target contact, but still tons of mistakes. 2 is really pretty good. 3 is perfect. Okay, I mean a real clear. And these sessions are really good. Of all of these sessions, 24 sessions, 17 had scores of 3. Don't try that with untrained viewers. 17 had scores of 3 out of 24. Now we have a little bit of a close-up. Now if you get the original photo from the Malin Space Science Systems website, and if you go to the Farsight Institute, this is in our Mysteries project. This is our first of the Mysteries project series. We have a link to the Malin Space Science Systems website, and you can download it yourself, and you can open it up in PowerPoint, and you can open it up in Photoshop, and it's much higher resolution. I mean, it is really clear. But you can see it. This is good enough for government work. And so, oops, I keep hitting the wrong button. See the spray, the nozzle, the apparent pipeline going into the dome, and the shadow underneath the spray, showing you it's airborne. So target 1A is the spray itself. We want to know. We want to confirm that it's a spray. Target 1B is this small dome. There's also another dome here that looks newer, actually, more shiny reflective material, and there's another one here. But we're going after this dome here. Now, the basic verifiable information for target 1A is that A, a spray of what appears to be a liquid being ejected under pressure from something like a nozzle, a barren, rugged terrain, a nearby domed or peaked formation that may or may not be described as a structure. Target 1B, the basic verifiable information is a domed or peaked formation that may or may not be described as a structure, a surrounding barren, rugged terrain, and since the spray in target 1A is near this domed or peaked formation, the spray may be perceived here as well. Target 1C, the basic verifiable information is a domed or peaked formation that may or may not be described as a structure, a surrounding barren, rugged terrain. Now here's a table that says some of the basic information that's verifiable. Now I'm not going to go through the whole table, but I am going to point out the parts that are relevant to this particular talk, which is again the wrong button, which is the first one right here. Of the remote viewers that scored with clarity scores of 3 for this target, there were 6 sessions. 4 of those sessions explicitly stated that this is a spray, liquid spray being ejected under pressure. There were no disagreeing sessions, and only 2 were ambiguous. What do we mean by ambiguous? They may have been describing a cloudy stuff that was there, but they didn't explicitly state that it was a high-powered spray coming out. But they may have said other things. So it was ambiguous. We have a very conservative coding scheme, and so that's the type of thing we were doing. Not everybody, remember, the spray was the target, not anything else. So not everybody picked up that it was near something like a domed structure. A couple people did pick up, by looking around, hey, there's a domed thing over there. And so that was sort of interesting, and that's in the table as well, but I'm not going to go over that. This gives you an idea of what Dick Algar from the Hawaiian Remote Viewing Guild got for his session. This is typical for a 3. Liquid squeezed under pressure seeps out released. He's got the spray here, the parent pipeline, and the dome formation. So that gives us enough information from that session, plus the other stuff he wrote. This is like a 20-page session, all of which is up on our website, farsight.org, to tell us that that's really what he's seeing. That helps us get verifiable information, and we want to get it verified from the other viewers as well similarly. Now, let's remember again the geyser, the pipeline, and the small dome, and then see how nicely that picture matches it. So that's good. Now, this is target 1B, the small dome. Now, for this one, of all this information, for time reasons, of course, I'm going to focus on only one thing. Is a dome artificial or is it a natural formation? Down here, Of the 6 sessions for the viewers that did sessions that got scored clarity scores of 3, 5 of them clearly stated this is a dome formation that is artificial. Only one was ambiguous, describing the dome formation but not going into it and seeing if it was artificial. No disagreeing sessions. Now for the large dome. Let's go after that. The great thing with operational remote viewing is you can send them into the dome and poke their nose around and see what's in there. This is all done blind. They could have, as far as they're concerned, they could have been given the Eiffel Tower for a target. They don't know what they're looking at. Well, let's look at that. And again, of the 5 sessions that were clarity scores of 3, 4 said that the dome formation was an artificial structure. Only 1 was ambiguous. There were no dissenting. And of course, they all got the normal stuff. There was a lot of people that, there were no dissenting information for the normal things like barren landscape, dry environment, rugged mountainous terrain, things like that. This is a good picture. It's very typical of the type of information we were getting. This is Daz Smith. He's controlled remote viewing, works with Lynn Buchanan. And Daz Smith drew this large dome. And of course, he went into it. And there were chambers within the dome connected with tunnels that connect the chambers. And then he noted that there was a huge amount of flashing light. That flashing light came across in a whole bunch of sessions. So it's not just Daz Smith. These things are radiating light, blinkety, blinkety, blink. There's a huge amount of energy. Okay, let's go through it quickly, just in a minute, what we're talking about. A summary of some of the verified and some of the new information. Some of this is verified, meaning physical and remote viewing matched together, and some of it's new, which remains speculative. The domes are artificial, or they, from this study, appear artificial. Subjects work inside the domes. Technology is involved. The original builders are apparently ancient. Current inhabitants do not fully understand the technology. They are missing spare parts. There is enormous power generating technology, intense lights flashing from the domes, sense of despondency among the inhabitants. It's a hardship assignment. The subjects apparently cannot return home, and they knew that when they accepted the assignment. There is no extraterrestrial content to these RV data. That may seem surprising to you, but the subjects could be human. Their origin is totally unknown from the perspective of this study. This could be, as Lynn Buchanan emphasized to me, a black military operation. There's more money in that budget than you could possibly blink at. And there are unregistered flights going out of Cape Canaveral all the time that never get reported in the press. So that is an actual possibility. It also could be that there's decoding errors. We have to leave that open as a possibility. This new information is speculative, remember? Unless it's matched. We don't have photos of these subjects, so that part is speculative, and it must remain speculative. The new information is speculative since it cannot yet be verified. But the good thing about that is these are leads, and this is how it's used operationally, remote viewing. These are leads that we can now follow up on.